Thank you for your comments and questions after the first video. We really appreciated them. It is amazing to see the interest on the payment industry. In the first video, we considered the 7 reasons why you should join or stay in the payment industry. I told you how amazing and full of opportunities the payment industry is. And many of you discovered the meaning of the verb to pay. To pay means to pacify, and all payment professionals are therefore peacemakers. And you can become one of them or remain one of them if you are already in the industry. We also said that it has never been so easy to understand payments. For many, payments is everything but easy. My goal with this video is to prove the contrary. We strongly believe payments is accessible to anyone. So in this video, we will introduce payments, payment instruments, and payment systems. We will look at the generic structure of payment systems in any country. Then we will move to the 4-corner model and present the different spaces available in the 4-corner model. After that, I will give you a very powerful method that we created. It is called the Lymph Method. It is a method that you can apply to easily understand any payment scheme anywhere in the world. So if you want to understand and master the basics of payment systems, stay tuned. Hi, my name is John Paul. I'm a payment enthusiast and author of an acclaimed book about the SEPA credit transfer. I have over 16 years of experience in the payment industry and I'm still in love. But things have not always been that easy and lovely for me. It took me about 5 years to master the basics of payments and payment systems. So the information I'm going to share with you in the next minute is precious. If you follow me until the end, you will be able to understand a lot of things that many in the industry are not able to explain, simply because no one ever taught them how these things work. Let's begin with the definition of a payment. What is a payment? According to the Bank of International Settlement, a payment is the payer's transfer of a monetary claim on a party acceptable to the payee. Typically, claims take the form of cash or deposit balances held at a financial institution or at a central bank. Put simply, a payment is a transfer of value from one party to another. The value transfer can be monetary, like 10 units of currency, or it can be of digital form, like a cryptocurrency. A payment transaction involves two end parties. On one side, the debtor or payer who sends the funds, and on the other side, the creditor or payee who receives the funds. An end party can be the sender or the receiver of a payment. It is a party involved in any side of a payment transaction. Payments are generally made in exchange for the provision of goods or services between end parties or to meet legal obligations. Closely related to payments is the concept of payment instrument. In the expression payment instrument, the word instrument is added to payment that we just explained. So let's look at the definition of the word instrument and see how it combines with payment. An instrument is defined as a means whereby something is achieved, performed, or furthered. It can be compared to a tool that facilitates the execution of a task. Tools make things very easy. Humans are incredible tool builders. You can do gardening or cooking without tools. You will spend huge amount of time and energy to eventually achieve pretty limited results. But how easy things are when you have the proper tools. Likewise, payment instruments facilitate payments and make funds transfer easy between the end parties involved. Payment instruments are tools to move value or money fast. Without payment instruments, paying will be very cumbersome. We learn in economic history that before creating payment instruments, people relied on barter to exchange value. But barter has many disadvantages and is not practical at all. Without payment instruments, e-commerce will not be possible. Many things that we take for granted today would simply not exist. Payment instruments are, without doubt, a great invention of humankind. Payment instruments are classified in two main categories: cash payment instruments and non-cash payment instruments. Cash payment instruments are banknotes and coins. A banknote is sometimes referred to as a bill, paper money, or simply a note. Non-cash payment instruments can themselves be divided in three subcategories: paper payment instruments, electronic payment instruments, and crypto payment instruments. Paper payment instruments are used to transfer monetary value. Few examples are checks, bill of exchanges, and promissory notes. Electronic payment instruments are also used to transfer monetary value. And few examples are cards, credit transfer, direct debits, e-money, and others. Finally, crypto payment instruments are used to transfer numeric or digital value. We can name the Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, and so on. Payment instruments are part of something bigger that are called payment systems. A payment system consists of a set of instruments, banking procedure, and typically interbank fund transfer systems that ensure the circulations of monetary or numeric value. A payment system requires four things. One, a payment instrument like cash, check, credit transfer, or a debit card. Number two, the scheme rules that define the procedure, practices, and standards agreed between the payment service providers that join the system. Number three, a transfer mechanism to move the funds from one party to another. And finally, number four, a legal framework to guarantee irrevocable and unconditional finality, that is the discharge of the obligation between the debtor and the creditor after the transfer. Payment systems operate essentially on two types of models: open-loop models and closed-loop models. In open-loop models, there are intermediaries between the end parties and the payment system. The end parties access the payment system through the intermediaries. And in closed-loop models, there are no intermediaries between the end parties and the payment system. End parties access the payment system directly. Let us consider closed-loop models first. This is what closed-loop models look like. A closed-loop system is directly connected to end parties, the senders and receivers of funds. So there is no intermediary between the end users and the system. End parties establish a direct connection to the payment system, and it is not possible to join the payment system as intermediary. This is the major difference between open and closed-loop systems. In open-loop systems, end parties access the payment system through intermediaries, and in closed-loop systems, the end parties have a business relationship and transact directly with the payment system. Closed-loop systems are centralized, while open-loop systems are decentralized. Since the closed-loop system is controlled by one entity, decisions can be made and implemented much faster than in an open-loop system. End parties are companies, merchants, and individuals that join the system either as buyers or sellers of goods and services. Examples of closed-loop systems are the traditional network of American Express, PayPal, or the Bitcoin. Merchants and consumers join these systems directly, and they don't need to go through an intermediary to transact with each other. Things are different for open-loop models. Here you see what an open loop model looks like. An open loop system is usually compared to a hub and spoke model. The system is connected to banks, payment service providers, or similar institutions which act as intermediaries. Banks are one type of payment service providers. In many regions of the world, it is possible for non-bank entities to provide payment services. As we see in this model, the bank or payment service providers are connected to end parties, the senders and receivers of funds. Only the intermediaries, banks, and other payment service providers can become members or participants of the payment system. Open loop models yield the great advantage of allowing banks to transact with each other without direct relationships. When a new intermediary joins the system, it can exchange transactions with all the banks that are already in the system and vice versa. This allows open loop system to scale rapidly. The system is open in the sense that new intermediaries with their end parties can join the system. The more intermediaries it has, the bigger and the more effective the system becomes. Since end parties can send funds to one another without having direct relationship with the same bank, all end parties are in a way connected to each other through the payment system and the intermediary banks. Now you may wonder what is inside the payment system and of what it is made up. Here you see the generic model of a payment system at a country level. Payment systems are composed of many interbank systems and central bank systems in the middle. Central bank systems are at the heart of the system and play a key role. The interbank systems are connected to the central bank systems. Payment service providers, generally the banks, can become participants of one or many interbank exchange systems. It's not mandatory for a bank to join all the interbank systems. They may not become member of certain interbank exchange systems. But banks must become members of central bank systems. The banks join interbank systems or central bank systems as direct or indirect participants. A payment transaction begins and ends with end parties, and the fund transfer happens through banks and other intermediaries which are connected through interbank and central bank systems. At a country level, payment systems are generally modeled as a network composed of banks and similar financial institutions, of interbank clearing systems that are generally called ACH or automated clearing house, and of the central bank systems. Interbank transfer systems usually implement clearing mechanisms and are connected to the central bank systems. They are referred to as ancillary systems in contrary to central systems operated by the central bank. Central bank systems implement the settlement mechanism. In some countries, they implement both clearing and settlement mechanisms, but in different subsystems. Now, why do we need clearing and settlement systems? Simply for cost reduction, effectiveness, and risk management. Depending on the amount and urgency, payments can be divided in different categories. There are low value and high value payments, and the payments may be urgent or not. Low value payments are also called retail payments. They are of low amount and high volumes. These payments are cleared and then settled. That means they are exchanged through a clearing system, and then funds are settled later in the settlement systems. High value payments are payments of high amounts. High value and urgent payments are settled right away. They are sent to the high value payment system, which is usually the same as the settlement system in many countries. If you want to understand what clearing and settlement mechanisms are, I refer you to the Pemrix channel. There you will find videos where we've explained this key concept in a very simple manner. Now, let's consider core non-cash payment systems in one country to illustrate what we just said. We look at the payment market infrastructures for the United States. So the payment systems for the US dollar. The overall structure looks like the generic model we considered before. Isn't that interesting? Let's begin from the inside and move gradually to the outside. In the middle, we see FedWire, the system operated by the central bank in the USA. Around FedWire, we see the interbank clearing systems in the United States. They are called ancillary systems, while FedWire is called central system. Not only because it is operated by the central bank, but also because it plays a central and paramount role. All interbank systems must go through FedWire to settle their transactions. We present the National Settlement Service later. There are two high-value payment systems in the United States: FedWire, the real-time gross settlement system, and CHIPS. CHIPS is a large-value payment system that implements continuous net settlement. CHIPS stands for Clearinghouse Interbank Payment System. It is owned by the financial institution that use it. As said above, FedWire is operated by the central bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, or simply the Fed. The Federal Reserve Bank also operates the National Settlement Service that is used for the settlement of ACH transactions after netting in the different regional systems. ACH, as said before, stands for Automated Clearing House. It is a generic name of clearing systems used for low-value or retail payments. In the USA, there is a fully integrated ACH payment network that is operated by the Federal Reserve Bank jointly with the Electronic Payments Association. The ACH network interconnects 12 regional ACH, and there are two main reasons for this. First, the United States is a federation of states, and the Fed consists of 12 different districts. Each state is linked to a Fed district that ensure the clearing and settlement of transactions that take place within its borders. And second, there are 6 different time zones across the United States. Each regional ACH can better serve the needs of people living in that specific region, particularly with regard to cutoff time to transmit payment orders. The ACH network is administered by an organization called NACHA, the National Automated Clearinghouse Association, which sets and enforces the rules associated with the payment system. ACH payments are traditionally settled in 2 days, but thanks to advances in technology, the ACH network moved to same-day settlement cycle in 2016 for credit transaction and in 2017 for debit transactions. There is another ACH system called EPN for Electronic Payments Network. It is operated by a private sector operator, the Clearinghouse Payments Company. Other market infrastructures in the USA are the checks clearing system and the car networks. The check clearing systems are used for the interbank transmission and clearing of checks, bill of exchanges, and promissory notes. These instruments are all settled in FedWire through the National Settlement Service system. The car networks are of multiple types. We have not represented all of them so as not to make the diagram more cumbersome. There are Visa and MasterCards for debit and credit cards, and there are closed-loop networks like Discovery and American Express. Closed-loop networks are not connected directly to central system. They rely on settlement banks that are participants to FedWire for the settlement of their transactions. Finally, we see the CLS system that is used to process dollar leg of foreign exchange transactions. The continuous link settlement system is used for the settlement of foreign exchange transactions in central bank money. CLS was created to eliminate the risk associated with the foreign exchange settlement across the different time zones. The banks in the United States use CLS to settle the USD legs of FX transactions. Banks located in other countries do the same for the leg involving their own currencies. Both legs are matched in CLS, allowing to deliver the currency to each party simultaneously. That is why CLS is called a payment versus payment system. Like in many countries in the world, there are many projects to enhance the market infrastructures in the USA. One of them is called FedNow, that will be used for the real-time processing of instant payment in 2023 or 2024. Cross-border payments go through SWIFT or the CAR networks. With such a model, isn't it simple to understand and study payment systems in the United States? Please post a comment below and tell me what you think about it. The great thing is that you can use this model to easily identify the key market infrastructure in any country in the world. Here's a similar model for France. We have a central bank system. We have central bank systems in the middle, Target 2 and TIPS, that are operated by the European Central Bank. Target 2 is used for large value and urgent transfers between banks, and TIPS is used for the settlement of instant payments. Around the central bank systems, we see the interbank clearing systems used for the clearing of domestic payment instruments like the checks, the credit transfer, and the direct debits. It is the same structure, and this shows that this model is really powerful. In the following minutes, I will reveal you a secret, something really powerful that can help you to study any payment system anywhere in the world. To begin, let's get back to the generic model of payment system at the level of a country. Now, look at this picture carefully and let's do a simple exercise. Let's remove all the interbank systems except one. Let's also remove all banks except two banks. For each bank, we keep the end party that is connected to it. What will the result look like? So again, we want to remove all the interbank system except one, and we want to remove all banks except two banks and their respective end parties. What will we get then as result? This is the end result. We see two banks on the picture. Each bank is connected to the interbank system 2 and to the central bank system. Each bank is also connected to an end party. Banks have been renamed Bank 1 and Bank A. This is to ease the understanding of what is presented in the following and help you connect the dots. Interbank systems 2 may be used for the exchange of messages related to one or many payment instruments. And we keep it in our model because we are interested in payment messages exchanged through that interbank system specifically. Now, let's make this model look more beautiful. Here's the result. The picture you see here is like the previous figure, but presented in a slightly different way. It is called the four-corner model, the fabulous four-corner model. We still see that each bank is connected to an end party. Both Bank 1 and Bank A are connected to the interbank system 2 and to the central bank system. We have put the interbank system 2 and the central bank system in one box that we will call CSM. CSM stands for Clearing and Settlement Mechanism. As we saw before, the interbank system 2 may be used for the exchange of messages related to one or many payment instruments. This abstraction is really useful because in general, we study one payment instrument at a time. So we do not need a model with all interbank systems. It is enough if we have the interbank system for the payment instrument that we are studying. This simple and powerful model can be used to analyze messages exchanged between bank and customer and among the banks. So in quite a lot of situations. And now we realize something very important. The four-corner model is nothing but a simplified open-loop model. So when we see a four-corner model, we should immediately think of open-loop models and vice versa. In the following, we will see few examples that show that the four-corner model is really the Swiss knife to analyze almost any payment instrument. The four-corner model is fundamental. As payments professional, if you want to build your payment skills on the rock, on strong foundation, then you should study and analyze the four-corner model. Now, let's consider a few examples of four-corner model. This is the four-corner model for the SEPA credit transfer, or more generally for credit transfer. So you can use it for any credit transfer. If you compare it with the initial four-corner model, you see that end party 1 becomes the originator, bank 1 is the originator bank, end party A becomes the beneficiary, and bank A is the beneficiary bank. Originator bank and beneficiary bank are interconnected through the CSM systems. The clearing mechanism is implemented in clearing systems. Among others, here are a few clearing systems for the SEPA credit transfer. Core in France, Equins in Benelux, EBA Step 2, the Pan-European Automated Clearing House, or PEACH, the retail payment systems in Germany, and so on. The settlement mechanism is implemented in the settlement system. In the SEPA area, there is only one settlement system for the SEPA credit transfer and other euro payment instrument. It is called Target 2 and is operated by the European Central Bank. Of course, if you don't live in the SEPA area, then you have other clearing and settlement systems, but they perform the same functions. Now let's look at the four-corner model for car payments. Typical clearing systems for car payments are Visa, MasterCard, China Union Pay, core system for domestic car payments in France, retail payment systems for domestic car payments in Germany, and so on. The settlement systems used are currency specific. We can cite FedWire in the USA for the US dollar, HVPS in China for the Chinese yuan, Target 2 in the SEPA area for the euro, RTGS in India for the Indian rupee, and so on. In the world, there is one settlement system per country or monetary zone, and it is used to settle the transaction in the currency of that country or region. Here we begin to see how useful and powerful the four-corner model is. It allows us to easily analyze car payment systems. One last example to see that we can use the four-corner model to analyze and study almost any payment instrument. Now we consider the four-corner model for check payments. If you compare this model with the initial four-corner model, you see that end party 1 becomes the drawer, bank 1 becomes the drawee or payer of the check, end party A becomes the payee, and bank A is the payee bank. Drawer's bank and payee's bank are again interconnected through the CSM. With regards to clearing system, we can mention the checks clearing system in the USA, core system in France, image clearing system in the United Kingdom, and many others. Again, the settlement systems used are currency specific. FedWire in USA for the US dollar, Target 2 in SEPA for the euro, CHAPS in the United Kingdom for the pound sterling. I think you now see how powerful the four-corner model is. It is really the place to start when you begin with a new payment instrument. The four-corner model can be divided into two spaces, the customer-to-bank space and the interbank space. The four-corner model is presented here so as to highlight these two spaces. Let's consider the customer-to-bank space first. The customer-to-bank space is the space where customers and banks exchange payment information, generally through standardized messages. When the information is sent from the customer to the bank, these are orders or instructions. For instance, the customer may ask the bank to debit his account and credit one or many beneficiary accounts, as it is the case for credit transfer instructions. Or the customer may ask the bank to debit debtors' accounts and credit his own account, as it is the case with direct debit instructions. Another option is the customer asking the bank to cancel a previously sent instruction. In any case, the customer asks the bank to do something about an order or instruction. Now, when the information is sent from the bank to the customer, it is considered as reporting. The bank is informing the customer about the status of an order that was previously sent or is providing account statements. Note that customer-to-bank space and bank-to-customer space mean the same thing. In practice, people usually say customer-to-bank space. The interbank space, as the name suggests, is the space where banks exchange payment information among themselves. Payment information can be exchanged either directly, like between a bank and its sub-participants, or through clearing and settlement systems. When the banks go through a clearing or settlement system, the interbank system must first receive the payment message, process it, and then forward it to the receiving bank. Clearing systems generally require banks to use particular message formats that bear additional information specific to those systems. As a result, the formats used to exchange messages directly between two banks can be different from the ones used to exchange messages between a bank and a clearing or settlement system. The four-corner model provides a good structure to study payments messages and scheme. We will see why with a powerful method that we are going to consider now. It is called the Lymph Method. Lymph stands for List and Identify Messages in the Four-Corner Model. It's a very, very interesting and powerful method. The Lymph Method is probably the most important tool to analyze and study messages of a payment scheme. The main purpose with this method is to quickly find out which messages are exchanged in a payment scheme and for which purpose. Here's how it works. There are three major steps. First, list all the messages exchanged in a particular scheme. Based on the scheme documentation, it's generally easy to do that. Second, identify clearly which party in the four-corner model sends and which party receives each message. In order to do this, you must draw a four-corner model for that particular scheme and identify the parties in the customer-to-bank space or in the interbank space that send or receive a particular message. And as last step, find out for which purpose each message is used in the scheme. The Lymph method is very useful. It allows you to easily reach the following three objectives. Number one, get an overview of all messages exchanged in the specific scheme you are studying. Number two, clearly see which messages are exchanged in the customer-to-bank space and which messages are exchanged in the interbank space for that scheme. Finally, number three, examine each message individually in order to understand its structure and why it is needed in the scheme. The Lymph method is very powerful because it can be used for any payment scheme anywhere in the world. If we apply this method for the SEPA credit transfer scheme, for example, we will download the documentation of the SCT scheme, then find all messages listed within. After that, for each message, we will find out which party sends and which party receives the message. And finally, we'll go through the documentation to understand for which purpose each message is used. That's how simple things can be. After the first two steps, this is what we get for the SEPA credit transfer scheme. The SCT scheme is a domestic payment scheme in Europe. But again, you can use the Lymph method to study any scheme anywhere in the world. And that is why it is so useful. We presented the four-corner model in a different way. As you can see, we presented the four-corner model in a different way to better highlight the messages. For the SCT scheme, there are two messages in the customer to bank space, the Pane 1 version 3 and the Pane 2 version 3. The Pane 1 flows from the customer, the originator, to the bank, and the Pane 2 flows from the bank to the customer. In the interbank space, we find quite many messages. We have listed 11, but you could have listed more. The main thing is to understand that the same message can have different meaning in different contexts. Did you pay attention to the direction of the messages? In payment, the direction of message is crucial. It is therefore important to understand which party sends and which party receives a message. Finally, you need to understand for which reason each message is used. In general, the scheme documentation will provide the information required for that. Getting this overview makes things very simple. We reached the end of this second video. Did I deliver my promise? If you learned something, then take 30 seconds and post a comment below. My team and myself really appreciate that. So we spoke about payments, payment instruments, payment systems. Open-loop models and closed-loop models of payment systems were presented. From the open-loop systems, we derive the four-corner model and saw that it is the Swiss knife to analyze and study any payment instrument. Then we looked at the two spaces of the four-corner model and presented the Lymph method that you can use anywhere in the world to study any domestic payment scheme. In a few minutes, you can learn a lot of things that many in the payment industry struggle with. If you found this video useful, please share it using the link below. If you share it with many people, we'll send you the slides that we used to prepare this video in PowerPoint format. You could use them to explain this key concept to your colleagues or customers. So just share the videos if you are interested in receiving the slides. In the next video, we talk about cross-border payments. Many think cross-border payments is a very complex topic. We have a different view, since we are convinced that mastering payment is accessible to anyone. And in the next video, you will get powerful tips and strategies to understand how cross-border payments work. We'll really appreciate to read your comments on this video. Can you please tell me what you found valuable? Comment about the topics that you would like to deepen. If you feel empowered after watching this video, please let me know. We really appreciate your feedback. Thank you in advance and see you in the next video on cross-border payments.